Imagine this. You wake up, grab your coffee, and the internet is just broken. Well, on November 18th, for millions of people, that wasn't imagination. It was real. A huge part of the digital world just went dark. So, what happened? Let's get into it. So, does any of this look familiar? Maybe you were trying to get an answer from ChatGPT, or stream some music on Spotify, or maybe just log in for a quick game of League of Legends, and then boom, nothing. From social media to your bank, it felt like a huge chunk of the internet just hit a brick wall. And no, it wasn't your Wi Fi. This was something way, way bigger. So the big question is, what on earth could cause so many totally different, massive services to all fail at the exact same time? I mean, we're talking about a major, major disruption to the very backbone of our digital world. To really get what happened, we need to talk about one of the invisible giants that pretty much holds the internet together. This is the story of how that giant took a pretty serious tumble and almost took the whole web down with it. Okay, so the main character in this whole drama is a company called Cloudflare. Now, you might not know their name, but I guarantee you use their services every single day. Think of them as providing the essential plumbing for a massive portion of the internet. They handle security, make sure sites load fast, all that behind-the-scenes stuff. Actually, the way Cloudflare describes itself is perfect. They call themselves an immune system for the internet. And it's a great way to think about it, right? Their tech basically sits between you and the websites you're visiting, and it's constantly fighting off billions of cyber threats every day, kind of like your body fights off germs. So what happens when that immune system gets sick? The second things went south, it kicked off this frantic race against the clock. You've got Cloudflare's engineers scrambling to figure out what's wrong and, bring the internet back from the dead. And here's when that clock officially started ticking, 11:48 Universal Time. That's when Cloudflare's own alarms started blaring. Their public status page gets an update. Cloudflare is experiencing an internal service degradation. The race was on. After that first alert, things got intense. It took their engineers well over an hour, until 1:09 p.m. UTC, just to pinpoint the problem. Then, just 4 minutes later, they were rolling out a fix. But look at that timeline. It wasn't until almost 3 p.m. that they could even start monitoring to see if things were getting better. And the final all clear? That didn't come until almost 8 hours after the whole mess started. Okay, so we've got the what and the when. Now it's time for the really interesting part, the why. What was this mysterious issue that had some of the best engineers in the world scrambling for hours? The first place everyone's mind went, mine included, was that this had to be some kind of massive, coordinated cyber attack. I mean, it makes sense, right? A full-on assault against the internet's immune system. But was that what happened? The answer came straight from the top. Cloudflare's CTO, Dane Knecht, put it out there very clearly. This was not an attack. So if it wasn't an outside job, well, that means the call was coming from inside the house. The problem was internal. And here's the crazy part. The whole thing started with something totally boring, just a routine, everyday configuration change. But that simple action woke up what the CTO called a latent bug, basically a hidden flaw in the software that tells humans apart from bots. That service crashed, and it set off a catastrophic domino effect across their entire network. A tiny normal action led to a complete system meltdown. To their credit, the company owned it completely. The CTO, Dane Knecht, didn't try to sugarcoat it at all. He said flat out, "We failed our customers and the broader internet." That apology really shows how deeply they understand their critical role in keeping everything online running and just how big this failure was. This whole incident really pulls back the curtain on a much bigger conversation. This isn't just about one company having a really bad day. It's about the very way our modern internet is built and some of the huge hidden risks we've kind of just accepted along the way. And the consequences weren't just frustrated users. They were immediate and very real. The financial markets reacted pretty fast. Cloudflare's stock price took a 2.3% hit right after the news broke, which is a really clear signal of just how seriously Wall Street takes the reliability of these core internet companies. Professor Alan Woodward, a cybersecurity expert, absolutely nailed the core problem here. He calls it a double-edged sword. On one side, you need these gigantic companies like Cloudflare to handle the security and scale that the global internet demands. But the other side of that sword is that when one of them fails, the fallout is just massive.
And that really leaves us with this huge, critical question. The whole point of the internet, originally, was that it was supposed to be decentralized, so no one part could take the whole thing down. But over time, for speed and security, we've put more and more of our trust in just a handful of giant companies. Have we accidentally created the very single points of failure we tried to avoid? What happened on November 18th was a pretty scary reminder that the system protecting the internet can also be the thing that breaks it.